Good afternoon, everyone. Let's continue to discuss this paper. Where do brown ferns borrow from? I really like this paper because they have something new that we can learn from the trend. And from the first beginning, we know that this paper actually examines some important questions. The first one is whether green and brown ferns face different borrowing costs from two debt markets. One is private loan, the other is public bonds. And the authors also separate the fern into green and brown, and to see whether green and brown fern prefer different debt resources. So the author answered these questions using structural models of credit risk. They show that the low ESG firm is less expensive to borrow from banks than from the bonds compared to high ESG firms. So low ESG firm actually not necessarily have to be brown firms. It is not necessary, but usually most of the firms, which is brown, they have low ESG, but not necessarily guarantee that. So this is the direction that the author finds, but this have some confusions and may have more argument in the future. The author using external shock, which is the UNGC violation. If some firms violate the environmental or social or governance, they will have a record. So using this record to see whether the bank or the market downgrade their credit and give them a much more expensive cost. So the paper examines some important angles, which I think is valuable to all readers. And there have some main findings. The first one is brown fern. Actually, you might be surprising, pay a significant lower premium. This premium is like an interest rate because we have a benchmark, and premium is over the benchmark, but lower premium, the same meaning as a lower rate for borrowing from loan compared to bonds. So brown fern not necessarily more expensive, and it is lower than green ferns even. So you might be surprising why green do not have a lower cost. By contrast, brown fern borrow at the lower cost. So this is the first main finding. And the second one is when the firm's ESG performances deteriorated, making worse, it initiated considerable more new loans rather than bonds. And we can accept the behavior, but it is within our expectations, right? However, the loan provider responds this poor ESG borrower by increasing the spread. The interest rate is much more expensive, and the amounts and the credit may be reducing. And after the violation, the shock or the treatment group, we see that the different results. The paper also uses the stock price. So they found the violation happened both the bank and the borrower share price in the market dropped significantly. So all of the main findings are here. And the contribution can be much more, but I just mentioned a few dimensions. The first dimension is what's the difference the authors found from the existing literature. For example, the third one here, Usually in literature, they only exempt the borrower's direction, which the stock price might drop. But here, they measure both, but the borrower's stock price and the lender's stock price. So we can see that the lenders have some impact as well. So this is a contribution, the authors say. And the second one, for example, usually the paper in the existing literature saying that firm may get few loans when they have something happened. Yeah, that may have something, may get few loans. When they have something happen, like a violation something, so you might be dropped or keep out from the loan market. But this paper is saying no, they still get much more loans. So they have different results because may have some relationship lending between them. And the first one is the ESG performances. We usually found that better performances can get a lower rate. And this paper, of course, have the same direction. However, they are different from the Brown firm in the loan market. The bank usually did not penalize the Brown firm. So we can see the bank actually give a cheaper cost to those Brown firms. So they have different results. And also this paper separate the whole firm into green and brown. I think the angle is quite crucial, especially in the ESG era. So here is the one. Can any one of you scan the QR code and vote to let me know whether you are totally understand brown and the green. Can you do that now? Did you see the QR code here? Yeah, scan and vote. We are waiting for the results. This can be a multiple choice. Okay. I mean the brown firms. Yeah, brown. Which one is brown? Which one is brown firm? Can be a multiple choice. We have 13% and one left. Brown firms. One person. Are you still there? Okay. Only one haven't voted, isn't it? Okay. In general, we have a correct answer, which is the brown firm is a heavy manufacturer firms. And renewable energy, we classify that into green. And waste management and the recycling, we also categorize them into green. So the first one is right. Okay, then we continue to know much more about brown firms because this is the focus of the paper, right? So fossil, for example, like a gas, oil, or this is a fossil. So this is a brown. Heavy manufacturing firms usually get pollution, like steel productions, cement production, heavy industrial. They are energy intensive, also belong to brown firms. And chemical pharmacies belong to brown firms. Mining belong to brown firms. And the other, like aerospace, aviation, this firm also belong to brown firms. By contrast, all this are very clean and green because they did not generate too much toxin to the water, to the air, to the biodiversity, to our environment. So we categorize them into green. So there have two different sectors in the paper. And we already know the green and brown. Now we need to know public and the public debt bonds and the bank loan. Can you please scan the QR code and make your answers? This is a multiple choice. There may have some more answers, more than one, but not sure. But this is a multiple choice. If you think this is correct, you can click. Probably not just one answer. It can be more. Everyone can have more answers. This is multiple choice. You can click much more because it may belong to multiple choices. If you think that is correct, just say it's correct. So finish? Okay, let's take a look at whether you totally understand public debt and private loan. The first one, public debt is a public market instrument. Private loan are private negotiated. This is correct, right? So you standardize instrument. The other is negotiation terms, like bank loan. And the second one is public debt faces free rider problems, which is right, because bondholder never monitor the borrower due to dispersed investor, unlike bank loan. Bank must monitor their borrowers. So the second one is correct too. And the third one, public debt typically involve larger amount, yes, and longer maturity, yes, compared to bank loan, yes. So these three are correct. Let us see the last one. Bank loan usually carry higher interest rate, much more expensive usually, yeah, but are less liquid than public bonds. So this is usually the correct answers too. because borrow from the bank actually more expensive compared to public debt. Their market rate is much more lower. But this paper probably will confuse you which one is expensive because they have different answers. But they tested brown firms, the focus on brown firm, not the general sample. So these one questions, actually 4 answers are correct. Okay, so remember that when you read the public debt and bank loan, actually you should be very careful because they have different characteristic in the borrower quality. So we can see the second one. Who will dealing with corporate bonds? These borrowers usually have characteristic of information transparency. They are really high quality borrower. They can issue bonds in the market. They usually have a very good credit rating, A+ or B+ above, and their creditness is very good, and then it can be successfully to issue corporate bond and borrow funds. By contrast, if you are a small firm, you do not have information transparency to the market, or you have something happened that your quality may not be so good to release, you will prefer bank loan. But other than that, some bank loan borrowers are also very, very excellent because they already can do the public debt. Of course, they can borrow from the bank, right? So they have different interest rate amounts and the maturity and collateral compared to public debt. They may be more strictly if their creditness is not that good. So green firms should prefer bank or bonds. Can anyone answer that? And brown firm is not definitely this direction, but mostly high probability. I mean, like a Tesla, green firm, right? Prefer issue bonds or issue loan. Hi, are you still there? 陈博彦 green firm should prefer loan or bonds. Bonds. A brown firm may prefer loans. Okay, so this is direction of this paper's design. If we can catch that, will be easy to read the paper afterward. And then we take a look at that. Public debt advantage, they have longer term, right? And they have standardized fixed interest rate. Anyone face the same market rate. And they may have lower counterparty risk, much more diversity about the borrower, and they have a broader investor base because who will buy your bonds? That is a diversified investor, a longer term and a much larger amount, and liquidity is high. If you don't want, you can sell it in the market instantly, be liquid, right? So this is a good for the borrower to borrow the long-term larger amount and lower rate or lower cost by issuing public bonds. But you have to have your quality A, maybe plus, above. By contrast, if you're not that good or you have something or you want to keep confidential, you can use bank loan. And this is a flexibility in terms, negotiation. Just negotiate with your bank. and private financing. Nobody knows that. And the last stringent disclosure. So usually high technology firms might prefer using bank loan because they just don't want to disclose their private information, confidential information. But you have to have a banking relationship with your traditional bank or relationship bank. You have to negotiate, keep good relationship with them. You can get a better term and may get a quick loan very fast. Okay, so it's different from like a issue of bonds. There's a term, 6 months, 3 months you go before you have to prepare. And so bank loan have their advantage too for small firm. And information is not transparent and very, very flexible, smaller, short term, and just urgent. You can borrow from bank. That's the better choice. And the data from the paper actually employ a lot. Their bank from their scan, their PC, syndicate loan. In the bond data from the FIST merchant, stock price from CRIPS, financial statement from CompuState, and the matching firm, the bond price from the TRACE. And also we have Capital IQ to merge their debt structure. Capital IQ, CYCU, our university subscribe this. So if you need, I can make another lesson that teach you how to assess the data from Capital IQ because we purchased it. And each year we have to renew that. So if this year have data, you have to go log on to download the data because next year we're not sure that we will purchase that. So this is the data employed in this paper, a very diversified database. And here is the violation, and it's in the sample across different sectors. We can see that a high violation belong to environment, right? Environment initiated, e-contact, and precaution. Okay. And following that, let's have some like human right is social. ESG. So the top three belong to environment and following by social. This is social. And this is social too. This is social too. Anti-corruption. Anti-corruption should belong to governance. This is corporate governance. And this is, I think this is a social too. The labor unions. This is a labor union. Belong to, but the like a discrimination or something also belong to corporate governance too. Because of something equality will be discussed in the corporate governance. Gender equality, compensation equality, without any discrimination, racist equality will be discussed in corporate governance fields. So this is the violation case. You guys mentioned that the event should be separated. I agree, because we mix with environmental and social case and also governance case in the study. And this is from the new version of the paper. So I think your version is 2023. We don't mention this. So here is the sample that the event per year and on average, and the event performed on average, and also event. Event means the violation case. The violation per years. There have the 301. So far, I did not understand the numbers along with the total observations so far. I can't catch it in the paper. I think about back and forth, but I cannot understand why this is so low, but the total observation is that big. How can they measure this smaller one? I can't get it so far, but we keep this in mind. Maybe we can back to here to discuss again. This is a table 1, the counts of event, violation event. And if we separate the violation into a severity, which is very, very serious, like this, high numbers means more serious. The largest number is 3. So usually it's like a 1.5, right? Is on average in the middle. And novelties means here there's something, this is in the new version too, is a news. So usually they have higher the news reported, right? The max number is 2, but it's already hit 1.7. So it means that this event, everybody knows that. You cannot hide because the news reported. And reach means what? Reach means the influential impact. You can reach that, the influence of a readership of the news. So it means the reader know that and have some influential on the readers. It is also very high, right? The next number is 3, but we can see that it's 1.5 too. So the event happened here are usually very, very seriously about on average about and on average and about because we can say the percentile 75% is 2 seriously and the 25% is 1 only. So we are here 1.49 here. So maybe 50% of that seriously. And here is the empirical model. So this is we can see that it's a borrowing interest rate, and this is after the event, posted event violation happened. After violation, if you are a treatment group, maybe you are bronc, you're a treatment group, and after violation, how about your interest rate from bonds and from loans? So this is the empirical model from the paper, and we should focus on the interaction of post and the treat. And the paper first used a matching sample, like a propensity matching score, to see whether on the same basis, how about the bank loan and the bond yield. So we can see that there's have some numbers that the treatment group and the control group, their amounts and their interest rate. So for the old firms, it's like LIBOR. It's about the LIBOR is 148. But for the treatment group, something happened and maybe controlled brown firms actually only 121. Control firm, conversely, is higher than the treatment firm. If this is a bonds, then we can see the on average 4. But control firm is also much higher, 7.6 compared to treatment, which is 4 only. So this may provide some answers and also doubts. Curiosity, what happened? It's beyond my expectation. So we have to look at the detail further because we think that brown fern should be more expensive, right? And green fern should be much more cheaper. But here we did not see the direction we expected to have. So what's happening? Here I put some PSM methods here that you can have a look at that, how to match the ferns, control and treatment. Because we separate into control and treatment, the only difference in the violation. So control fern without any violation, and treatment fern have some violation. And after that, what's happening to your interest rate? So the control fern is without any violation, and treatment is the ferns experience a violation or negative ESG event. So we can see that the very, very straightforward high ESG have a lower long spread, right? And significantly and negatively affect the spread. The spread is the interest rate. So this is a loan. For the loan spread, high ESG get a cheaper cost. Good, very, very good. But after violation, how about that? This is a loan rate. We should focus on the interaction I just mentioned, right? And we should focus on, oh yes, we control for banks, fixed effect. You guys just mentioned this. So they control bank fixed effect, but not details, only bank types. So they control, oh yes, and we can take a look at the column 3, post and the event. After violation, after the violation, then we can see the loan rate actually increase, right? Post the event. Post multiplied by event. So when you violate something, then your bank loan rate increase significantly. Okay, so this is the table 5 in the new version. In table 6, we can see that it's bonds. So bonds have the same direction. High ESG cause to lower spread and bond yield. So significantly and negatively impact their bond yields, right? And the control for the time fixed effect and firm fixed effect only. So here we can see in column 1, they control both the direction and significance remains. So high ESG have a lower bond yield too. And after violation, what's happening? After violation, we can see it's still maintain positive and much higher. Here we can see that it's 1.442, and if we do not control time effect, it's still significantly positively affect the bond yield. So both market raises interest rate when a firm violates the environmental or social or governance violation. When you violate the requirement, you will be penalty. So increases. And here have something interesting, because the author using structure estimation result, we can see that they are using something. They create the observation, which is matching. And matching firm, they find that this firm violation, brown firms, How about the loan spread and the bond spread? Compared to loan spread 1.65, bond spread is much higher. So it's totally opposite because loan spread is cheaper compared to bond spread in this paper. So we need to mention that this is a very special. The loan is cheaper than the bonds in this paper, but it is not general. In general case, it's not a general case. Usually a bond may be cheaper because it's market rate, but in this paper it's different because it focuses on maybe bond firms. And here I need to mention about the bond borrower. When you are a brown borrower or green borrower from the loan, we can see the paper. Provide brown firms a cheaper loan rate, which is less than 1. But they provide green firm, which we think should be cheaper, but actually it's more expensive. So here is the key. I want to ask you why happened. Why and what happened? Bank lent to brown firm is much cheaper compared to green firms. Why? If you have something in mind, answer in the next page. Can you please scan this QR code and vote? Why green firm pay even more expensive premium? Why brown firm pay much cheaper? This is a multiple choice too. Hi, are you guys there? What's your answers? Multiple choice. If you say it's okay, then you pick that. Multiple choice. Interesting. Okay. Why green pay less? Brown. Oh, why green pay more and brown pay less? These three actually totally correct. But actually, I like the answers, which is I do think that banks do not price ESG risk efficiently. I think the C is my favorite answers. But A and B, of course, are correct. But why brown firm borrow with a cheaper price? I do think that banks do not yet price ESG risk efficiently. they don't care that, or they don't know that. They may know that your credit risk rather than your ESG risk. So still focus on traditional credit metrics. So C is correct too. And bank have stronger relationship with the borrower, so they have information advantage with loan firms, so they give them lower spread. It's possibility, high possibility is correct too. Bank's green project is newer and riskier with longer payback horizons. This is correct too. Okay, so very good. You guys actually have the very good, impotence and the direction about this paper. And we can continue to the next page. Here is a loan amount. After the violation, we can see here is the interaction, right? So whether loan amount increasing or decreasing or insignificance, after the violation, the loan amount doesn't change because it's a positive but insignificant, right? So bank do not respond the amount instantly. How about bonds? By contrast, bonds we can see after the violation, it decreased significantly. So public holder actually penalize the violation more strictly compared to bank. Okay, so bank insignificant in amount, but the bonds significantly and negatively reduce. And this is the differences graphing. We mentioned this many times in the paper, every time. And here it's an interesting results about the debt structure changes after the violation. So here is the key. The number of loans, the number of bonds after the violation. We should focus on the interaction term here. Okay. So after the violation, we found that the numbers of loan significantly positively increasing compared to post, right? It's much larger. Many borrow switch to bank loan after violation. Compared to bonds, original larger, but after violation, the number of bonds issuance reduce. Okay, so it becomes 700. So after the violation, we can see the debt structure change. Most of the borrowers switch to loan rather than bonds. Also, this is another interesting result. I really like this. Again, you might be interested in knowing why. So please scan the QR code and we will discuss it later. This is a multiple choice too. If you think it's possible, potentially it's correct, you can pick that multiple choice. Okay, nice. We usually have the correct directions and the answers too. Actually, 4 of them are correct. And you guys saying that the A answers actually is my favorite too. Because I think the brown firm faced stronger scrutiny. Yes, it's scrutiny. And investor awareness in public bond market make it harder to issue bonds. So they don't want to try and switch to loan. And investor in bond market have a high ESG commitment to avoid financing brown firms after violation. You don't want to purchase the bonds of the brown firms, which already experiences some violation. It's also good answers. Banks rely on traditional lending and to continue to support is possible, right? And bank maintain lending, but compensated by increasing interest rate. We see the interaction after that is positive, right? So that the increase is correct too. So very good. You guys actually understand the correction. So there are some more explanation for the result. This is from the old paper, but I think they changed the paragraph. This is from the old version, but the new version I did not see the same sentences. Their explanation changed. Okay, then we continue to see the stock price reaction, and we can see the constants. If you violate something, your accumulate abnormal return of stock price will keep the constant of negatively significantly. And any relationship will actually enhance the negative event. So your bank stock price might drop significantly after the violation, not just the borrower. If you are the bank, you have the indirect impact on your stock price. But here I have some comments because I don't think that it will be so straightforward. If the firm is small or the bank is very large, small firm relative to a big bank. Okay, you guys just say the bank have different type. So mine have very trivial or insignificant impact. So this could be explored much more. But this is the old version. They provide this table, but in new paper, this has been deleted. So I do think that the editor requires more. And CDS swap doesn't change, and if they change, they are negatively reaction. And bond firms, we can see that long spread for the bond actually is significantly lower. Okay, this is a negative sign. So here is another question that you can answer. We are almost, not so much time. This is a multiple choice too. Okay, we can see the results. Okay, the first one, when ESG performances deteriorated, making worse, and the new loans will be created. They initiate new loans is correct. And the second one, the brown firm paid lower premium when borrowing from the loan than bonds. This is correct too. And they issue more loans rather than bonds. Okay, so the last one is incorrect, but the correct one will be the first two. Okay, so brown firms in this paper have some specialty because they find something different. And this is a conclusion. I will get back here later, but I have 5 comments only. The comment 1, I think this paper is very good, but they have to separate the ESG risk and the credit risk. So they did not control from like this is a credit risk, which is investment grade or jump grade bonds. They should control for the borrower's credit risk. You are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like MSCI, they have different credit risk category. And this criteria, like AA, AAA, AA, this is an ESG rating. So they mix together. So I think they can separate into credit risk and ESG risk to see the different premium. Okay, so this is one that I recommend the authors should be doing. And the comment 2 is the difference in differences. The paper mentions staggered because different year, different firm violate different event. So they are not happening in the same year and the same event. So stagger means you happened in the 1 year before and happening next year and different year. This is a staggered. So you should introduce the new methodology about the staggered violation. So this paper ignore the staggered DID. And the comment 3 is the control firm, the brown or green firms. How about their deal purposes or the loan purposes or the bond purposes rather than the firm's characteristic only? Green firm can do something which is a brown project, and brown project can do something which is a green project too. So the interest rate so connected with the deal purposes or the project purposes because they create pollution is that project rather than the whole firms. So we should control for the purposes too. I think this very similar concept has been presented by you guys group, right? So brown firms actually have carbon emission, but they also do something zero carbon emission project too. And this is the data from my database. I do in this project all the time. So there have different purposes that we can control them for in the model. In the market reaction, I did not want to mention too far, but I think this bank can do much more. So you guys already mentioned that the bank type and the different bank category, a multiple lineage and multiple banking relationship will be different. They affected the results. So we can control for the bank and the firms too. And finally, endogeneity problems. I think you guys already catch the right direction. And this is belong to the self-selection bias. Okay, so very nice. You guys actually capture the very good directions and almost, I think, 90% of you totally understand this paper's direction and the essentials. Thank you very much for the participations. I think our discussion will end here. Any other questions?